Hi, my name is Palesa Madumo, convener of the 2021 PRISM Awards, Africa's most sought-after public relations award. I am also your host for a very special 10-part series called Byline, where I will be chatting to all sorts of different people in the communications and public relations industry about all things good, bad, and ugly about this industry. Don't forget to follow the conversation on Twitter at the PRISM Awards. And of course, you can tag me and my guest and ask us any questions that you'd like for an interactive conversation. Our guest today is advertising royalty, co-founder of The Odd Number and the Chief Creative Officer. Welcome, Sibusiso Sitole. Hi, Sbu.
Hi.
There's
a lot of hype there, advertising royalty.
You are advertising royalty, surely, right?
I don't know, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, we're still growing.
Really? But you're doing quite well in terms of growth, right?
Thank you.
Thank
you.
I want to start off with the name, The Odd Number.
Yeah.
It's an awesome name. What's the story behind it?
Look, the story's changed over the years,
Okay.
by the way. But when we were trying to name the agency, we were looking at kind of, I guess, your typical advertising names, which was like the surnames thing. And then we started noticing there's a trend with like numbers, right? There was like 1886 and 140
Yes.
BBDO. And so we thought, yeah, maybe it's a number. And I think someone sniped back, well, we'd be the odd number. And we just liked the ring of that, you know. And then we've gone on to kind of build on the meaning, you know, it's odd, which is the creative, plus number, which is business, and, you know, effective creativity. So it worked in our favor.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. And what would you say is the oddest thing about your business?
The oddest thing about our business, goodness, it's our work, right? The oddest thing about our business is the fact that you've got this small black-owned agency that came out of nowhere and is competing with the big boys. You know, it's the underdog story. I think that's what's odd about it. But also, I think it's just the partnership between myself and Gola is also quite unlikely. I mean, Gola didn't come from an advertising background, came from management consulting. I come from advertising, and I think that pairing is also fairly odd. And I think it's that oddness that kind of gave us a little bit edge.
I love that actually, because a lot of times creatives really struggle with the business side of things.
Sure.
So would you say that's really given you an up in terms of that?
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Are you a numbers person?
No, except the numbers in my bank account. So those are the only
Important
numbers I
numbers.
appreciate, I recognize. But no, not necessarily. But I think I'm a business person. So I'm very much into the strategy of a business. I'm very much into building a solid business. And I'm very much into partnering with the right people to do that.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. And you're obviously an awesome creative as well. You've personally won multiple awards, including the Loeries as well as Pandorings.
Yeah.
And of course, The Odd Number itself has just recently been ranked number 2 in South Africa, as well as number 3 in the rest of the continent and the Middle East by the Loeries, which is hyper important as far as I understand it. Do you think that awards are critical to doing business these days?
They've been good to us, for us. I think when we started, we were a very little known agency. I think awards have done a very good job at PRing what we're capable of. I think awards also show that an agency has passion for ideas, passion for creativity, and a passion to compete. And I think that's what clients need in an agency, right? So I think as far as credibility, it's been good for us. It's also been important to knock the misconceptions about a black-owned agency in this industry, because it's quite important to show our counterparts that we can compete toe-to-toe.
Absolutely.
That we're just as good, and that just the fact that we're black doesn't make us any weaker than they are. In fact, actually, in many cases, it makes us stronger.
Do you think that this constant fight to prove, validity when it comes to black agencies is something that's fair in this day and age?
It's not fair. I mean, our history is not fair. right? But we're finally getting into a space, and it's a space of confidence where we know what we're doing, and we know who we're speaking to, and we know our market. And I think, whilst it's been unfair, I think we have the opportunity to change that over time by not only by competing and showing that we can show up, but also by nurturing our youngsters as well, right? And growing them and training them and teaching them how to think creatively and embracing our languages as well, you know?
Absolutely.
Because we have a bigger canvas to paint off of because of how diverse our nation is, you know, and the lived experiences of all the creatives that we can hire.
Absolutely.
We should hire.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I mean, they say the cream rises to the top. So in other words, you know, in your case, it's not so much about proving whether you're good enough or not. You've actually been able to show that in the work that you've done anyway.
Sure.
In fact, the accolades that you are getting, such as being chosen as a jury member for the ADC 100,
Sure.
which is one of the industry or the world's oldest awards, actually is testament to that. Tell me a little bit about what that actually involves, and talk a little bit about the international stage and, you know, you being on it.
It's a fairly new thing for me, I must be honest. I think I did judge the one show about 2 years ago in the Dominican Republic, which was an amazing experience for me, and it was the first time actually judging internationally. Why it was amazing? Because I find that I learned so much in these forums, right? You know, I come as myself with my own perspective, and my perspective is informed by my surroundings and my country. But I think when you judging internationally, you get to hear perspectives from different creatives across the world. So for me, the honor is more the honor to be sitting around fellow creatives and counterparts around the world and learning how they think, what they believe in, how they embrace their creativity, and how they push it forward. So for me, that's what I appreciate the most about judging internationally.
And I think that's fantastic for your own personal exposure.
100%.
But, you know, when you're there, as South Africans do you feel sort of this need or this burden to fly the South African flag?
I think I'm doing it already, you know. I think, and what I mean by that is, by virtue of being a South African in that space, I'm flying the flag. I don't necessarily feel a burden to fly the South African flag. I feel a burden to learn as much as I can and take it back to South Africa, right?
Okay,
And
okay.
I think that's the burden, is to how do I be part of moving this country onto the global stage? How we do that is we go, we learn, we bring back, we upskill, we make the work that can compete at that level. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that when we come back, our work is in there and we're judging it as well, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And what would you say, or how well is South African work doing on the international stage, in your opinion? I love what you say about learning and bringing back, because I think it's vital, it's crucial to our industry, and to up-and-coming creatives as well. But how important is it for South African work to be featured, and how are we doing, you know, in your view?
You know, I think we're doing well. I think we're doing well. We obviously could always do better. You know, I mean, the odd number, we managed to get 4 merit awards at one show last year, which was an amazing feat for us. We want to compete internationally. I know the guys at Hunt Lascaris, I think they won the first sort of gold can off of a vernacular ad, which for me was fantastic. The whole campaign was written in Zulu, and it won at Cannes. So, and for us, I mean, that's inspirational, because now I'm going, damn, we can do that. You know, we can build that. So, I think, look, we're getting better over time. We're not where we want to be, but we're definitely gung ho. Like, we're keen to get there.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. And let's focus a little bit more closer to our industry here in South Africa.
Sure.
Sort of like, you know, our bread and butter, what we wake up to do every morning. I just want to find out from you what you think is the state of the industry right now.
I'm loving sort of what I'd love to call the rise of the independents. I'm loving to see like there's a bit of drive as far as independents go, and this is across the board, even in production. I'm loving just seeing all these companies competing on a global scale. State of the industry now, very hard to tell. I mean, I think COVID really hurt us to an extent. I think we're all very uncertain. We're all very not sure.
Yeah.
I definitely think we've taken a little bit of a knock from an inspiration point of view because of the tough year that we've had. So it's almost as if the work kind of suffered a little bit, just as far as that. Because obviously, I mean, creatives are not together anymore. Everyone's on Zoom, you know. It's just so the industry's taken a bit of strain. I do think though that we're hopeful. It's feeling like, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think whilst we were disrupted quite a bit last year, I think everyone's kind of back in a bit of a rhythm again. So we're starting to see a little bit of an uptick just as far as creativity is concerned, passion. You know, people are kind of feeling like there's a bit of hope, you know, in the system. So I'm looking forward to personally. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot, like a whole lot of better work coming out of.
Absolutely. I think
the
we
country
all can't wait.
Because, you know, there's hope. You know, the vaccines are here. You know, we're feeling...
Are they?
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There's definitely a more positive vibe in the air compared to last year. So I love what you said about the rise of independence, but I want to zoom a little bit closer to the micro independent.
Yeah.
And you know, who they are and what their future is in this industry, considering how much effort, and as you know, it takes to build a company, to give it that profile, to create a brand. What are your thoughts about these micros and, you know, what they should be doing to make sure that they become part of a positive competitive landscape in our industry?
Yeah. Sure. You know, I guess it does depend on your ambition, right? Do you want to stay micro, or are you looking at growth? But I would say one of the things I'm very excited about is partnerships. So agencies are partnering with their various specialist skill sets, right? To pitch on pieces of business, or partnering with a bigger agency as you know, I guess, you know, with their specialist service as a part of, I guess, winning business and working on meatier pieces of business. So one of the things I think are working, or have worked for us at least, is partnerships with other agencies, with other independent agencies.
Absolutely.
And you know, putting forward a decent proposal together, you know, as a team. Yeah.
I think that's important. Collaboration is the future. You know, it's kind of you know, where everybody's going and where we should all be going, because the industry is fusing so much. Whether it's PR or advertising, you can't really tell the difference these days.
Sure.
But I think I want to ask you, if you were approached by an advertising agency, Izola, you know, and they're a year old and they want to partner with the Odd Number, how difficult would that be in terms of making that happen? And how important do you think it is to take smaller or micro agencies like that along the journey?
Look, I think it's very important, but I think it's also important that, you know, that particular agency knows exactly how they would complement our agency, right? I think the thing about collaborations is collaborations have to be genuine. Right, so they need to be bringing something to the table that we can then package together and then go to market with. You know, so I would say, you know, because it's not necessarily an enterprise development thing, right? It's a pure collaboration.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, because we're in South Africa, as you mentioned earlier, there is there's always that element of it. And I think that's why I'm asking, because there's that credibility that you need, obviously, to be able to put your name and your brand next to whoever it is, but also to your point that they complement, you know, the offering. So I think it is a combination.
It's definitely a combination of the two. But I guess we're talking from a collaboration point of view. I think it's quite important that the partnership is genuine, you know. And I think for us, we've partnered with all sorts of agencies
Yeah.
from different walks of life, and I think it always works really well when, you know, the skill sets really work in each other's favor.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's like core to our business, to be honest. I think just kind of partnerships, particularly with small black businesses. We found that
Fantastic.
those really work well. Often,
Fantastic.
you know,
And
yeah.
well done on that. I think it's crucial to
Yeah.
the growth of our industry. So let's talk a little bit about your favorite campaigns as a head honcho creative guy. What's your all-time favorite campaign? And then I also want to just get into the odd number a little bit and talk about some of the campaigns, especially some of the more meaningful campaigns that you guys have
Yeah.
run.
Sure.
Is it a tough one, the all-time favorite?
Yeah, the all-time favorite is a very tough one. It's like asking me what's my favorite song of all time. Yeah, man, I love advertising. I can't stress how much I love what I do. So I feel like there's a campaign for every mood, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many. There's just so many. Yeah.
What would you say would be an uplifting one for what we need now post-COVID?
An uplifting ad like that's been made in our history before.
Yes.
I'll quote. Look, it's an ad I made. It's the Cadbury triplets with the singing babies in the stomach,
Oh, wow.
singing the
Remember
soil
that
song.
ad.
Yeah. That's uplifting, right?
Very. Oh, that just made me smile.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That was wonderful work.
Yes.
And you've obviously...
Self-plug right there.
Listen,
Yeah, but
why not?
Why not?
And you've gone on to make even more impactful, well, without comparing, campaigns as well. I want to talk a bit about some of the more meaningful ones, particularly ones that have had a social impact in a country like ours that actually needs it.
Sure.
Which ones are those? For example, your Salvation Army campaign that you did. And I just want to find out from you how important it is to you to not just create fun ads, but also ads that make a significant difference in society. Not that fun ads can't.
Look, ultimately, we tell stories to move people, right? We tell stories to move people, and we tell stories to make an impact on society, right? Whatever end of the spectrum they're in. We made an ad which I really love called The Prayer for Brand SA, which was, it was around the time after the Durban, there was all sorts of xenophobic attacks in KZN. And Brand SA had asked us to make something in response to that. I think at the time it was a banner, but we came up with this quite a simple story, which was, if you look at our national anthem, it's a prayer, right? And a prayer by its nature can be prayed by anyone, even beyond our borders. And the words were really about God saving us as Africans. So in this particular commercial, you've got a foreigner who's being chased down by a community, and he finds himself in, bunkered in his room and surrounded by the community who wants to take him out, and he gets on his knees and he starts praying. And his prayer, whilst he says it in Igbo, in Nigerian, is the actual lyrics of our national anthem. And the whole thing is about, we're actually more united than we think. What was cool about it is it's actually launched on Africa Day, which was the same day as our South African inauguration.
Fantastic.
Which was quite a statement for Brand South Africa on the day of our inauguration to launch that with using the anthem in that way.
That's absolutely heartwarming, and I think again, something that's very important in terms of where we are as a country right now. I mean, we're talking vaccines. There's a whole list of who's getting a vaccine and who isn't, who's registered in South Africa and who isn't. So I think there's a great role that marketers and advertisers and communicators across the board plays in terms of unity, in terms of bringing people together for a common purpose, which is humanity, really, at the end of the day.
100%. Yeah, what we do is we inspire.
Mm.
And that's what we should do.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And how would you, in closing, inspire a young Sbu who's sitting, somewhere without much access to education or something that could catapult them into an industry such as yours? What would you say to that young man or that young woman, wanting to be the future you?
Sure, that's a tough one. I would say just don't give up. Be annoying to everyone who you think has access and could grant you access. Be annoying. When they reject you, call them again, call them again, call them again. Just keep trying. I think, we can't give up. We just can't give up. We can't give up trying and pushing and prodding and poking, And once you're through the door, show up to work on time, finish the day, be indispensable. It's the soft stuff. It's the basic things that I think a lot of the youngsters could do a lot better at. Just be professional.
Absolutely.
And that's going to sustain you over time and learn. I mean, if I'm still learning, you should be learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Sbu, thank you very much for what was a very interesting conversation on our industry. Thank you very much for joining us. That's it for this episode of Byline, Sibusiso Sitole. Don't forget to follow this series right here. Cicely Tyson, the late and the great, once said, "Challenges make you discover things that you did not know about yourself." Goodbye.